Hello and welcome at Book Lovers Companion. My name is Edith and right next to me is my lovely co-host, the Chattering Teacup.
Hello.
And here with us from sunny Florida, returning guest Jill Wallace. Jill, hello and welcome back.
Hello, Edith and Chattering Teacup. Such a joy to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you on our show again. And you have been a busy little bee because you've started a new series, the Time Flies series.
Yes.
And the prequel, Timeless Beginnings, is coming out very soon. So tell us about it. Tell us everything about it.
Thank you. Well, it was a long time getting birthed. I knew I wanted to write a series.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great departure from what I'm used to writing, which, as you know, is based on historical fact and people that I love. Mm-hmm. So this one was all about something out of my head. So I went down various paths and picked many artistic brains to see how I could make this work. But by the same token, pulling in everything that was known to me, because I think that's where I'm most comfortable, when I can draw on experiences and then elaborate and pepper them with, pickle them with all sorts of imagination so that they end up to be what they are. So I drew on the fact that, and it was kind of built in layers, because I drew on the fact that I do believe in reincarnation, and I'm a great. I've really come to enjoy Brian Weiss and his theories, and so I knew that it'd have to be something of that ilk. And I also thought, you know what? I flew as an international air hostess for years for South African Airways, and those were fun years. And then I thought of how middle age keeps, pops in and stays a long time. And I thought, how could I amalgamate those facets and make it interesting? So for years, 25 years, in fact, 4 girls and I used to meet wherever we were living in the US. They're American girls. And we met in a real estate office, and we just clicked. So 25 years, we spent 1 week each year going somewhere. And they are funny and quirky and ornery and interesting. And I thought, well, why not base this series on them? Because they're interesting enough to be my wonderful characters. So as usual, I changed their names so that I could make them a little worse than they are and a little quirkier than they are. And I turned them into SAA hosties. And the mission that this protagonist is on, her name is Lucky. They're all South African. They've lived in various parts of the world. And they're converging on Lucky's home, which is in Hull, Massachusetts.
Yep.
And because she inadvertently invited them, she is suffering from having met her soulmate, having dreamt about her soulmate on board a 747 in the crew rest. And she met him shortly thereafter and knew that he was her forever. And then he was whisked away from her. And in the first book, we really don't know the specifics. We know the meeting, but we don't know the specifics. But she's been searching for him and waiting for him all these years. She's never married. She's got a very faithful dog who she adores. And he is her partner in crime, literally, because she's a psychic to law enforcement.
Yeah. That's also an interesting strand in your book, I have to say.
Thank you. But that honestly came up in the last probably 2 months before I sent it out to beta readers. So it was just an added extra, and I felt that she needed a mission, and it was better to show and not tell. So I would send her out on such a mission. And so that's kind of how it developed. I actually amalgamated this prequel along with the first girl's story, and she is going to. Now, all of these, sorry, I backtrack. So Lucky wants to know if she was the only one who dreamt of her soulmate in the crew rest. So she puts a Facebook ad out onto the Orange Tail site, which was an old site for people in her era who used to fly. And she said, did anybody have a dream about their soulmates on board a 747 and it still lives with you? Email me. And so these 4 women converge on her home. They probably, some of them have met on a flight, but never saw each other again. So they really are strangers. And Lucky is a hermit. She's not, she loves her dog and her solitude. And here these women are coming. So sorry. These women are coming and she has no idea what she's going to do with them. But they're here. So my goal was to incorporate that intro. And then the first book, which is going to be Bree's story, and it's going to be titled Timeless Pirouette. Because she dreamt that she was the understudy to Odile and Odette in Swan Lake in 1887 in Moscow. And she fell in love with a beggar. And he was the one who pushed her into her success. And then she meets him again. So I had this all, and it was thick with information, and my wonderful developmental editor said to me, this needs to be 2 books because you've got so much to say. It's going to crowd out Bree's story. So why don't you have a prequel and then start with the girls? So I said, I resisted. I am really good at resisting. And then I finally took her advice and I concentrated on Lucky and her beginnings and how she came to be, because we won't hear from her. Every story will be in that girl's point of view.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought that when after reading the prequel, that you are going to do that in the following books. That was also, I was right. Okay, I wanted to ask you. You said you believe in reincarnation and past lives, and like I said before, what was interesting for me as well, as since I love crime fiction so much, this idea of her working with the FBI or law enforcement and helping them as a psychic, and the idea of her. How do you describe it? The smells people smell, or the smell of ghosts, more or less. Which is interesting because we do know that smell trigger memories. Yeah. And how did you put all these information or these ideas together in this thread in the book?
Quite honestly, I just sit here with my fingers on the keys, and I have vague ideas, and then it kind of weaves. And I do have a husband who's very, very logical, but he also has a fine imagination. So I can throw things at him and he'll say, no, there's a hole there. And so he's very, very helpful to me. I appreciate him. But so it kind of just, they tell me what they need to do. And then the story takes hold of itself.
And you said those friends or those strangers, more or less, since the South African airline was such a huge organization.
Huge, yes.
And people rarely met twice while they worked there. And I mean, she knew of them, she heard of them, and then she turned up and she's a bit, not more than a bit nervous before they turn up at her home. And you said the idea came from people you knew.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about those characters. I mean, we have Lucky, of course, your main character. We have Moxie, we have BJ, we have Bree, and we have Chantel. Can you tell us a little bit about them without giving too much away, of course?
Yes. Well, they're literally based physically on each one of those people, and that I love. And let's start with Chantel. Chantel is she's so interesting. She can light up a room. She's vivacious even when she's not speaking. She has she has an aura of light, and she's funny and she's quirky, and she did she did. That was my hardest to describe, with the mosquitoes behind the ears, because that was her little quirk, which I built into the book. So I'm going to have her name in real life is Beth. Beth will be. We had her in the prequel. Everybody's anticipating her singing.
Yeah, exactly.
And, yeah. There's going to be a story to that, but she'll be book number 3, which will be the second in the girls, and I've got a complex story going for her, so I'm kind of excited about that. So, all these quirks were peppered in early so that I could expound on them, obviously, in their own books. Bree is the opposite of what she was in her past life. She trips over everything.
Yeah.
And now but she was the understudy to the Odile Odette of 1877. So we wonder how she has become this way.
Exactly, since as a dancer you have to be graceful and not tripping about your own feet.
Exactly. And actually this one is exactly like that in real life too. Debbie and Bree are very much alike. So, and they all either have met their soulmates, but they're missing something. They're missing, and it's because, in my mind, they're bringing baggage from past lives that they haven't worked out yet. So in order to understand what it is that they brought with them to this life, they need Lucky to regress them into that past life, so we can see how their dream ends, and it's still blissful to some degree. We know trouble is coming, but it is to some degree blissful. She takes them beyond the dream to the real past life, and then we see why it is that they carry this baggage, and what it is, so they can deal with it, get rid of it, and live their best lives. So that's the premise. And I struggled with the theme. I didn't know what the theme was until I was writing the blurb, which was literally 2 weeks before I sent it out to beta readers. And then I had to write it in, and that was help others to help yourself is really the theme of the story. So, and then each one of them helps each other along the way through the camaraderie and and then adding the little snippets of the airline and the quirky, stupid, silly things we used to do and observe. And so it's really been fun. Whereas War Serenade was a big struggle for me because I was so intent on finding and delivering the truth, the truth that I couldn't twist in my imagination. And Zebra was being true in great part to the experiences that my husband lived through. So this one is really a different road for me, and it's been fun. There's no pressure really. It's a pressure to serve the story as opposed to serve the person, if that makes sense.
And the part with the airline hostesses.
Yes.
Is it only something that happens to you? Or
yes.
is there also some imagination there?
Because
no, it's all.
Because I suppose what you mean is this harsh treatment of Lucky when she first applied.
Terrible. That was absolutely true. That was true. Lucky's.
Yes. Okay. Nobody's going to listen to this episode. Don't worry. Nobody will love it.
Okay, good.
But
good. They'll never know.
No, but
yes, every one of those things happened to me. It was grueling.
So it was not. Was it fun to revisit that? The time?
No, not always. No. But it was fun to revisit the times on board and this, it was such an unusual happenstance because you're thrown together with these people and you just immediately have to work together, and you got 10 days together, or you got 7 days in Frankfurt, or you got wherever you are. And you just make the best of it. You know, you have fun, you learn the locals. It was an odd way of life because nobody that wasn't flying could relate to you during the times that, you know, because they were working us to death. We didn't have any unions or anybody looking after us. So literally we had a 2-day turnaround and then we'd be flying for 18 hours. But then we'd spend more time in our destinations than we would at home, just trying to recuperate.
Okay.
So you were forced into a friendship or an openness that not everybody was geared for. I was up for it, but there were many who weren't. So it was a very good lesson in humanity because you wanted to have the best time and you wanted to make others have the best time because you couldn't have it all on your own. So it was a very good lesson in that sense. I hope that answered questions somewhat.
Yeah. And I mean, when Lucky reveals her wish at school and one teacher reacts, I mean, this way of thinking about air hostesses. I mean,
I know.
Prejudice.
It's absolute prejudice. I mean, was it really this prevalent back then?
It was we lived in a very dogmatic society, you know, in South Africa. We were very closed-minded. We were very protected. We were very censored. You know, the movies all had any kind of violence you could imagine. There was no restriction. But boy, you dare not show a face. I mean a love scene or you know, any. So, and I mean, for goodness sake, we were, what was her name? Jackie Collins was banned in South Africa. You couldn't, I mean, yeah, she's mild compared to what we find now. Jackie Collins, it was ridiculous. It was very narrow-minded, very dogmatic. And it was a government airline. So there was the same dogma translated into the airline. Women were, you know, we were objects. We had to look good, and that's all that mattered. And treat the passengers properly.
Yeah.
And the guys, no weighing of the guys. They could eat what they liked. We were weighed, and we were checked all the time. So there was a huge, I mean, a great disparity. I'm sure it's very, very different now, but that was the late 70s, early 80s, and we didn't know any different. We really didn't know any different.
One difference I realized is just from, as we see it from now, there's a scene where you described people smoking on the plane. It was probably completely natural back then, but nowadays it seems very strange because
I know it does. Imagine us all inhaling that. I mean, honestly, and we smoked in the galley. You know, we'd smoke in the galley, and ashtrays were built into the armrests.
Yeah.
You know, that was just how they were. And it was a big puff of smoke that took off and landed. And imagine when you landed how full of yuck that was now.
Yeah. Can't imagine that now.
No.
You can't imagine that now. It's such a different time.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And you said you spend a lot of time in a different country. I always thought that all you get to see was airports. But when you do international flights, you spend a lot of time on the plane, but you have to have some rest as well. So you did get to see.
Oh, lots and lots. Yes, we used to have 7-day Frankfurts, 5-day Londons, because that was our shortest flight. 10-day Madrid, 14-day Madrid, Paris, so we could stay. I mean, Perth, Australia, we were there for 10 days. We were in Buenos Aires and Rio de Janeiro for about 3 nights apiece. So Hong Kong, probably 5 days, Taiwan, a couple of nights. So there was always time to play. But, you know, we were young. We were all young. So you just played and played and played. And then you got back on the plane and you were exhausted, but you had to do your job and get home to sleep. And you barely had enough sleep and you would turn around and going in the opposite direction. Your body doesn't know if it wants filet mignon or bacon. You know?
I can imagine that. Yeah. Until what age approximately does one manage to do that?
They took us on at 20, and then you were an old bag by the time you were 28. You know,
God.
The woman seldom made it past 32 in the airline. They were old. They had to leave. They were old.
It sounds a little bit like you all were ballet dancers because you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, because that's the life of a ballet dancer.
I mean, it sounds a bit strange, but I guess it's something you can compare it to, because in ballet you have a very short span of being successful and doing this job, and then you are, like you said, you are considered as old.
You can go.
You were old bags, yeah. Of course, the guys could go on and die in the airline, but the woman, they weren't nudged out. In the one scene where BJ it tells us of her final days, and they said you grounded, and they had no reason to ground her, but she was too old.
Yeah. It was again harsh treatment.
Exceptionally, and we knew no different.
And you know what I found? And you know what I found so more or less typical. We never talk about it, or we never think about it. But the harsh treatment was always delivered not by the guys. It was always delivered by the other women.
Yes.
That is so true. It was. Because they were women in power, and if they were women in power, they had a lot of it.
Yeah, there's this one scene when Lucky was accepted. The kind of makeup artist, more or less.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was true too, by the way. That was true too.
I mean, do you think that we women, since we're all girls here now, we have never learned this whole sisterhood we always talk about? I mean, men never talk about this brotherhood. They just have it. They know how to be bells, or mates, but we women don't.
It's true. I think we are evolving though, and I think there are more sisterhoods now than there ever were. I think women are supporting women much, much more than they used to.
Back then, you mean? Let's hope so. I mean,
maybe women are not competing anymore for the big prize, or not as.
What is the big prize?
Exactly. What is the big prize?
I guess it was the men. They consider themselves the big prize, I guess.
Yes. Well, that's very true.
And they could lean back and have a nice life, whereas the others quarreled amongst themselves.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Scramble.
Yes.
Apply the lipstick. Let's do this.
Yeah. And the guys never have to do that. It's unfair, I suppose. Very unfair.
It has
changed a bit now.
It has changed. It has changed,
It
definitely.
has. Finally, yes.
Slowly, baby steps. And Jill, may I ask you, you said the books you've wrote before, they were all set, or they were all dealing with past events. And you are sending the girls back in time. So
quite far sometimes.
Quite far sometimes. And how much did you enjoy the research?
I loved it. It was so cool. It was fantastic. The first one, I just absorbed everything I could. I even found one of Tchaikovsky's original score pages.
Okay.
It was fantastic. It really, to delve really helps you pull out what you need for that particular character. The next one is actually is going to be in just prior to the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, and it'll be Titus, Emperor Titus. Yes, and they will be in Herculaneum. So that was pretty cool too. And I've been to Pompeii, and I was mesmerized by it. I could have spent weeks, months in that place. Just and I have never been to Herculaneum. Have you girls been to?
No, unfortunately not. But we've been to an exhibition of the British Museum about Pompeii and Herculaneum.
Yeah, a few years back.
It was fascinating.
Oh, it's really so interesting.
Yeah.
You know, those Romans were so smart. They were so advanced. They must have got their skills from something. They were smart. Yep. The aqueducts, everything that they had. I mean, a functioning village as we know it today, except for the internet.
A heating system.
Yeah.
I know. A heating system, toilets,
Running water?
Yeah. Yep.
Running water?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
And then I don't know where the others are taking me. I have no idea at this point. I think maybe to the beginning of the circus era for Moxie. Not sure. But she has those inclinations.
Yes. Yeah, I got the idea while reading.
In some parts, the prequel is quite funny. There's some funny scenes in there. But right at the beginning, it starts with, let's say, a more scary or harsh scene.
You know what? I had a lot of pushback. I had a lot of pushback from my editor. She said, "Why are you starting this with so much violence?" And I said, "Well, it's not going to be just a happy little story. There's the, if you can't live with this." And she said, "Well," and I don't know what. Actually, when I danced, that was one of the. I was a Scarlet Woman in one of the dances my teacher choreographed, and it was a very, with dancing you also have to immerse yourself into the character. So I had that character in my head. So I think that's what popped out easily and quickly. And I asked my beta readers if they found it to be. Nobody really responded, but so I'd love to. How did you think it was misplaced?
No,
because I have time to change that.
No, I don't think so. Do you think so?
No.
I enjoyed.
Did it hint?
I enjoyed the whole book.
Hinted.
I enjoyed everything. I mean, I'm not squeamish at all, and I said,
bad.
This crime fiction part, I enjoy it.
It
absolutely, yeah. So
that's lovely.
No,
it was a lot more violent, and I was told to take out the scenes. I would be flagged. I should have left them in just for you.
Yes, yes, you should have.
You can send that you're taking out parts.
The cut-offs, I'll send those to you.
As an extra.
Yes, why not? I'm not squeamish.
So will all the other books have criminal elements?
Yes, I'm thinking of because that. Oh, and one of the things on my Kickstarter that I have is an opportunity to buy the name of the villain, and it's already sold on Kickstarter. They've already bought the name, so they will name it whomever they wish. But he has to answer your question. He, I believe, will be popping in to each book.
A different one or the one from the prequel?
Same one.
The same one. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Because
it's going to
Yeah, because you didn't really... I mean, I'm not giving anything away. It's not completely...
tied up.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And it won't be, he's just one of the elements. So it won't be until the final book, which will be Lucky's book, where we will hear Lucky's story from the time that she dreams about her soulmate until she finds him, which will be during the book. So each book will culminate. They will have a happily ever after. Or happily for now, but a happy. It will be tied up. It's just the beginnings that couldn't be tied up because we had to tease it into the first book.
Yeah, of course. So it's a happily for now with a little bit of blood.
Yeah. That's perfectly described.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, but if I understand correctly, only Lucky is able to experience her own past lives.
Correct. Yeah. She's the only one who can. Yes. But she can, and she can't experience the others. She can get them to experience them. And then collectively in a sisterhood, they can discuss what baggage is there and how best to do away with it so they can move on. Because only by accepting what they didn't know was bugging them with their soulmate can they exorcise it and become whole and live their best lives.
And do we also learn in the coming books what happened to Alana? To her bestie?
We will. We will.
In the last one, I expect.
Yes.
It's okay.
Yes, I expect it might be might be the fourth. I'm not sure.
Okay. And May I also ask, how hard was it to convince your editor to put in or leave in the South African slang?
She's very kind. Now, a lot of people I know are put off by that, but it's part of my essence. I can't take it out because it wouldn't be. And she's actually really good about that. In fact, you know her, Chris Kreidler. You interviewed her. She's lovely, but she allowed me from the beginning to be that way. And so I'm taking full advantage of it going forward. And she doesn't object. She's very good about that.
But I think it's fitting because they're South African. So it's fine that they talk like South Africans. I mean, it's only natural.
Right. Right. It is. And, everybody's used to me having a glossary so that the words, but I think in context, it's not always necessary.
Yeah.
So if I'm not explaining it, I'm sure intelligent people will just read what they know it to be.
Yeah.
So I'm not phased anymore.
No, I think you shouldn't, because like you said, in context you get an idea, and if not, so be it. Yeah.
If it's worse, it's now easy to look it up.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And since Lucky and you yourself you both live under the paw, of course. So tell us a little bit about this furry companion of hers.
Yes, well, I'm a besotted dog lover, and every one of my books has a dog. So it was only fitting. We have Australian Shepherds, and they're divine. They're super smart. And Tula is the name of my dog, and she's 15. She's 75 pounds and 15 years old, and she's divine. They are very smart and intuitive. So yes, these dogs are kind of an amalgamation of those two. But he's beautiful.
Okay. Absolutely. I mean, it's a special dog because this dog has intuition, maybe also some past lives.
Definitely. I absolutely agree that he does, and that he's been with her through many, many lives. In different forms, and I think we'll discuss that at one stage. Sure.
And he's always
he was with me.
Yeah. And were you worried, or let's say, did the characters, when you wrote the prequel, did they quarrel in your office? Because there was this moment in the book when there was a little bit of tension.
Yes.
And Lucky wasn't exactly sure, was it a good idea to invite them, and how is this going to end, and will we have some trouble? It starts with a kerfuffle, or maybe not, but everything gets moved over. Were you worried?
No. I actually forced that because there was never a moment of that in this friendship. It was very easy. Always.
Okay.
So I had to force that to make it more interesting.
Okay.
Because, like Hollywood told me, happy is not interesting.
It would
needs conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. But it would, like you said, happy for now, maybe not happy ever after, happily ever after.
That's right.
I mean, wouldn't it be also interesting to find out what happened then? I mean, after
It might well.
If it really,
and maybe that could be an epilogue or another. Yeah, maybe.
Exactly.
And then we could find out what happened after the happily now.
Exactly. And I mean, what does soulmate mean? I mean, soulmate doesn't necessarily mean your romantic partner, does it?
No, it doesn't. It could be your best friend.
Exactly.
It could be your. It could be. It could be your brother.
Yeah, exactly.
It could. You don't have to have a romantic soulmate. In this case, you do, because. But I don't think you need to do that. And I really also think we all come back with our people. I think we have contracts to come back with the people that we love and we've loved for eternity in different degrees and in different shapes. We have a contract to come back so that we're not alone here, that we have a teacup and we have an Edith and we have a Tula.
Yeah. What about the people we are indifferent to? Because a lot of people always think that hate is the opposite of love.
I disagree, like you.
I do disagree, because I think indifference is the opposite of love. So what about those people we are indifferent to? Do they also come back?
They just not with us. No, I think they come back with their people. I think we only bring the people we need for our sanity or our existence to be worth anything.
And what about the people we don't like or hate? Because hate and love is fairly similar in regard is the most emotion is in there.
Exactly. And I think we have to work that out. I think it's karma, baby. We have to work it out.
Yeah, karma's a bitch, isn't it? And sometimes
I think
rightfully so.
Yeah. But in the one avenue of thought is that each one of us has to be the murderer and the murdered. Each one of us has to be the prostitute and the priest. Each one of us has to be the Black South African and Taylor Swift. Each one of us has to be in another's shoes in order to evolve into a place where we don't have to come back anymore. That's one train of thought, and I find that interesting because when you think of people who've made a humongous difference in the world, they think of Mandela. You know, what did he have to forgive? Look, he was a bad man to begin with because he did things, but he did them for a cause. But he forgave all the people who belittled him, beat him, and he rose above that. And to really join a nation that was so far apart. So interesting. There's a guy called Ainsley MacLeod, and he wrote a book called The Old Souls Reference Guide. And I chanced upon that, and I think it's super interesting because that's kind of the philosophy. It's very similar to Brian Weiss and Many Minds, Many Masters, and how it's so fascinating. I think we're so vain to consider that it's just we were born and then we'll die. You know, what the hell is it all about? There must be a reason. And it's not that we're going to set the world on fire, but you set Michelle's world on fire, and you've set other people's world on fire. And I hope every day that I touch somebody in some way. And, you know, I think that's all we do. The little things are what makes us better. I don't know. What the hell do I know? I just know that I love to write these books, and it's just, they bring me joy. They're my friends, you know, it's wonderful to have them take you somewhere. You're not taking them, they're taking you. You have the rough idea, but it's they who show you the way.
And where did your villain come from, or your perpetrator?
Oh my gosh, I always have such vile perpetrators. Must pull them from somewhere, because I don't know such vile people.
Yeah, but where did you pull him from? Okay.
It's awful.
I mean, you hear a lot of awful stories if you look at the news.
Yeah,
that's true. You don't have
maybe
to.
An amalgamation of something like
exactly. Exactly. Very possibly. And you were asking about the smell, the hyperosmia. I went through all the the five senses to see what had been done least and what made the most sense. And then I actually sometimes smell my dad. I smell him. So I thought, why not write what you know?
True. Yeah, absolutely. And like we said before, I mean, the sense of smell is directly connected to our memory. Yeah, to our memory. And the only sense that is directly connected to the brain,
that's fascinating.
The main part. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Unlike the other senses. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it's an important sense. I mean, coming to think of it, when you can't smell, I mean, the COVID thing, I mean, was a hard one when people couldn't smell.
Yes, smell. And then because that directly affects your taste.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're losing 2 with 1.
Yep.
So you using 2 with 1 as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives you a double sensory reaction.
Yeah.
The perfumes that I smell on somebody, and I have a flash of that time in my life, and if it was horrible, you have a visceral reaction to that smell.
Yeah. And also, Lucky uses, or she found her relief from smelling those, or getting these flashes from the people.
From not a strong smell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cancel it out, using perfume to cancel out other
other
things,
negative things. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's maybe a bit like sometimes people remember smell from the childhood. Maybe like freshly baked biscuits, something like that. And they always remember that and just feel happier for that.
Exactly. It's why they tell realtors tell sellers to bake cookies when they have an open house, because people will come in and think, oh, this is home.
Yeah, but
and in shops sometimes they use sprays to flavor the air.
Yeah, but isn't that a bit of a tricky thing? Because
it is.
Because okay, for most people, let's say for most people, cookies or biscuits trigger positive memories. But what if it's the other way around? I mean, I'm not going down the dark lane, but let's be honest, it happens. It happens.
It's true.
It's bad luck.
It's true.
Yeah, bad luck. Yeah,
bad luck.
Shit happens.
I think you use the smells that have a positive reaction from most people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pick one of the other ones.
Yeah. Like when you use cleaning materials and it sets you back to your time in hospital or something like that.
Yes, very true. Or wax on floors, and it reminds me of school.
Yeah.
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
There's so many things.
Exactly. You mentioned your editor, and we know your editor, lovely woman. And you are a whole bunch of lovely women in your community. So
we do.
How much did you communicate with this lovely bunch of women about your ideas, or just Chris?
No, immensely. In fact, it was 2 years ago. I can't believe it. But 2 years ago, this seed of series was planted firmly in my head. And I thought, okay, I must do this and I must do this. And there's an author, her name is Kristen Painter. She's brilliant. She writes, she's written a whole lot of genres, but I think at the moment she's doing paranormal women's fiction. And she said to me, and she's cool. She's ever so snarky, and she tells it like it is. There's no BS. It is. It comes out, and I respect that immensely. I really enjoy that from people. Don't peddle around the bush. Just tell me like it is, and boy, does she tell it. And I said to her, "What if blah 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 blah?" She said, "Hell no. Throw that one away." Then you deject it. It was at a conference. We had a conference for 3 days. So every time I thought of something, hey, Kristen, what do you think of this? Yeah, this is okay, but
oh yeah, that's direct.
So that's what she did to me. Yeah, but you know what? It was beautiful because she pushed me, and Chris. Even when Chris does my editing, I had a wonderful developmental editor this time too, and her name is Essie Smith, and she's written hundreds and hundreds of books, and she's super smart, and she kind of took me under her wing and said, okay, think of it this way, think of it that way. So this is not a book I wrote on my own. I have so many people who guided me and helped me. And then I have my developmental editor for Zebra, who's always in my life. She's my dear friend. And she'd say, have to have perfume. They've got to wear perfumes. These women have to have specific perfumes. I said, oh, Debbie, I don't know fancy perfumes. She said, oh, don't worry, I'll get them for you. Flower bomb and this and that, things I'd never heard of. So I said, I have so many people who contributed because they care. So that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. And may I ask you, since I'm always wondering, because I'm crap at that. Writers always have this penchant for describing people's clothes. How easy is it for you to describe people's clothes? I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't care much about that. And I always wonder...
Yes, that's not important to you.
No, absolutely not. And I always wonder, what the hell are these people actually wearing?
That's funny. Well, it just, I guess, to me, it's just one of the parts of the character, because clothes represent the person, just as quirks represent the person, just as I described what each of them had in their suitcases, as seen by Lucky in her X-ray vision. To me, that was indicative of who they are. So it goes beyond what they're wearing, but it goes to who they are in my imaginings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I realize you skipped that part, but
no,
it's probably crucial.
I did not skip the part, but I'm always wondering, what does it look like?
Yes.
Yeah, what does it look like? And also the colors, sometimes not in your book, but in other books. What is that supposed to look like? I haven't got the faintest idea. I mean,
you break it down to a more simpler colors, like blue, brown,
red.
And
is she a red person, a blue person, a yellow person? Yes, but your brain is probably concentrating on something very analytical that my brain can't, and that I've probably skipped over because my brain doesn't go there. So, and you could describe a mathematical string to me that would, okay, good. I was about to drink more coffee.
We are having the bells on, dear listeners, in case you are hearing this strange sound.
Wow, that means we've been together for an hour and it goes so quickly.
Yeah, time flies. Not just airplanes, also time flies, as we know.
Time flies.
But don't worry, dear listeners. It's a nice sound.
An interlude.
It's a beautiful sound.
An interlude, yes, indeed.
Musical interlude.
Yes, exactly. I mean, very, very fitting for your characters, or some of your characters.
Yes.
And also the nicknames are quite, I mean, BJ is called the Queen.
She's called the Queen. And actually, she is called the Queen amongst us five. Because she's, we all listen to the Queen. And I've sent them all the books. I mean, I've sent them beginnings so that they can see themselves, and they've all given me kudos that they saw themselves exactly. So that was a good, that was a wonderful endorsement from the people who I was describing.
And no one was cross with you.
Oh, no.
They enjoyed
I warned them. Yeah.
Okay. No, well, that's good to hear. I mean, getting into this whole FBI thing, was that easy or was that hard for you?
No, I did it. It was hard for me because I love a crime on television, but I've never written it. So I did have a friend of mine she's a brilliant author. I don't know if you've spoken to TJ Logan. You have. She's very smart, brilliant books. And so I had TJ look at it for me, and she said, oh, no. You call him special agent. And, she refined my misconceptions. So, it's wonderful to have this village of authors and they are so tremendously giving and unself-serving. They will tell you because it helps you, not because they want anything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift.
Absolutely.
It's a true gift.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah. Do you think, is it this way in all the writing communities? Because
no, I don't.
Rumor has it that romance writers are not that.
And rumors are true.
Do tell.
Rumors are true. Well, no, I mean, I've just been in writing groups that I didn't want to be in.
Okay.
Because, I think like attracts like very often. If you would give, you will get. And I think there are a few in the group, but there are probably 18 members in this group now. And when I started, there were 25. So, and it's mostly those 25 who are my go-to people. Mm-hmm. Because we know each other so well, because others might be from different areas, so you don't have the camaraderie. But the chapter that we're in they go to great efforts to make, they have writing sprints and they have brainstorming that you can join so they're really active in that way, which makes it, and I've not attended those, so I don't know how they go, but one tends to go to people you trust. Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. And that trust is built over years of giving and taking, I guess. But so much generosity I'm so lucky to have the generosity that I do within my group. Truly, it makes me so much better. And I hope in some small way I do the same for them, but I doubt it because they're much smarter than I. But I think we learn from each other, mm-hmm. and it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you meet regularly in person, or do you use Zoom? Or
we meet probably 9 months of the year in person, but it's not it's really just the core people because they're the local people. Whereas we've got a lot of people who live in other states, and we have a Christmas party every year, and people actually come in for that from all over, and so it's lovely. But I also have other cores that have evolved not only from the Florida Star fiction writers, but on an international level on another group that I'm with, and I've learned a ton from them also. So, in fact, there's an anthology that we're doing collectively. Christmas anthology. So I'm doing an offshoot of War Serenade as one of the short stories. We're not allowed to go over 20,000 words, which is very difficult for me. So we'll see. But that's fun.
And may I ask, what about the male-female percentage in your group?
Oh, my Lord. It's 1 to 90. Literally 1 to 9. And remember, this is because we opened it up to fiction writers. So we no longer romance only, because we broke away from Romance Writers of America to form our own chapter.
Okay.
And then we became Florida Star fiction writers. So it was enveloping, and I was much more at home in this incarnation, mm-hmm. because I don't write romance strictly. And so we've attracted so far one male. And he doesn't have too much of a voice, may I say, because there's so many of us.
And what does he write? Obviously not romance.
He does. He writes romance.
Oh, sorry.
He's the odd one out in the group.
The odd one out.
I've not read anything of his, so...
Yeah, why not? Absolutely.
Well, I need to, yeah. Life is too short. All the people I want to read, I just can't get there.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Oof. And you girls have to read like a book a week so that you can interview your readers.
Yeah.
Probably
at least try to.
Yeah, book a week. 1.5 books a week. Depends.
Wow.
Maybe 2.
That's enterprising.
Can't manage that.
Yeah. It gets done, and a lot of interesting new, like I said before, interesting new authors, interesting ideas, interesting books.
Concepts, and it broadens one's mind. It's like travel.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Different times, different places, and so on.
Yeah.
Different genres.
Perspectives. Yeah. Different genres.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And your English always amazes me because this is your words come so. My third language in the airline was German.
Oh, yeah.
And we had to learn in 3 months how to do the necessary. Es tut mir leid, entsorgen Sie nicht die Klingel zu drücken, wenn Sie etwas benötigen. Sehr schön.
That's good. And why German?
And we had 2 choices during my ab initio classes, and one was Italian and one was German. And we had lived in Southwest Africa. I had lived there as a kid.
Okay.
And I thought, that'll be easy. And little did I know of the masculine, feminine, and neuter that German had. That really blew my mind, because we had to learn to write and read it in those months for the airline.
It's not a long time.
No,
absolutely not. No, it wasn't long. But I've lost it. All I can do is tell you, ring the button. Can't say anything else.
And that sounds absolutely perfect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Jill, is there anything else you would like our listeners to know?
I would just love them to go to my website and take a peek at what's there. It's jillwallace.com. And I would just love them to take a dive and come in and check out words. And if the words fit what they would love to fly on, I'd love them to fly with me. And look for these Time Flies books. They'll probably be hitting Amazon in September.
Oh.
Time Flies, Lucky's book, Timeless Beginnings, will be in September, and then I hope to get the next one launched by early next year. Book 2.
Something to look forward to.
So that's the plan.
Good, and we keep our fingers crossed that it works out.
Yes, because life gets in the way, and
Yeah, but we keep our fingers crossed for that.
I'm so delighted that you invited me back. Thank you both so much.
It was, like before, an absolute pleasure to have you on and talk to you. Thank you for being here. You did enjoy this episode as much as we did? Then hit subscribe and don't miss the next episode. Also, make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. If you like to support us and buy us a coffee, you can do so via Buy Me a Coffee and other platforms. You can find all the necessary links in the description. Until next time.